Yeah, good morning and welcome to week 4 of Native American Lit. It's Monday morning when I'm putting this quick little video announcement together. I'll give you a forewarning if a cat if a cat happens to walk across in front of the in front of the shot. It's not my fault. She's been bothering me all morning and she just doesn't want to leave me alone. So I thought I'd let you know that ahead of time. Um, so I've been reading through the discussion sections this morning, and there she is. Everybody say hi to Nico. All right, Nico, get down, girl. um, I've been reading through the discussion sections this morning, and I took a pretty brief look at the journal entries. I made a few comments on some of the threads that were going there. I just want to say I think about 15 people I think had entered into the discussion on the discussion board as of Monday morning. And that number's pretty good. It's good to try, if you can, try to get to the discussion board a little earlier in the week. It can help you sort of build your ideas. But if you can't, then be sure to check in with the discussion board even after the assignment kind of closes. Come back and reread through some of that stuff because there's some really good threads of thought, I think, that are working through. Some people sort of bouncing ideas off each other. And I just want to say that I think so far, for the most part, people are really kind of getting the work of Eastman. And I mean, I should reveal my bias. I studied Eastman somewhat extensively at one point, and I've always found and I've studied American Indian autobiography, maybe more so, I mean, as much as fiction and other work, but I've always had a sort of deep sort of love and a real interest in this particular intellectual figure and of all sort of Native scholars from his time period. So if for any reason Eastman's work piques your interest and you want to read more, send me an email and I'd be happy to give you a reading list of some of the people that were writing and thinking of around this time, because it's a really interesting group of people, because they were some of the very first American Indian scholars. And they weren't really doing American Indian scholarship work of American Indian communities, but they were, because it was a much different educational system at that time. Saying that, just keep up the good work for this week. Sorry, I'm moving my camera around. This cat's driving me nuts. Let me get this fixed. All right, give me just a second here, guys. We will get this back in line, and we're going to go with this shot because I can't really edit. All right, there we go. For this next week, you're going to be just reading another bit of Eastman. You'll be asked to sort of read a more standard article. You'll also be watching a documentary it's just sort of it's just kind of helps to set some of the historical context. I think it's Ives, just called The West, and it sort of centers on the Dakotas. It centers on the Greater West, Montana, and other places, and so. Watch the video and just sort of get a sense of what the historical context in which Eastman was writing all this stuff, because when this guy is going back to college back east, I mean, the Western Plains are still actively engaged, the Western tribes anyway, and the Western Lakota people who are related to Eastman, but certainly different, the Oglalas and others, and Northern Cheyennes, and all the great, all the great U.S. Native battles, right? Fought on horseback, the cavalry, the sort of great battles of the West, in which Native people actually won more often than lost. But decided to at some point sit down and treat and make fairly good deals with the U.S. Of course, the problem was that the U.S. was never really, and we know this from our reading of David Troyer on Res Life, the U.S. was never really engaged in good faith agreements in these treaties, but that didn't mean that the treaty law suddenly went away. Setting that digression aside, watch the documentary this week and try to gain an understanding, and it might give you a deeper appreciation of how and why Eastman was writing in the way that he was. I think probably some of the things that people have noticed in some of the discussion threads, I think, was just how rhetorically adept I think Eastman was at sort of making an argument. You'll notice, I'll put it this way, as you read further and eventually complete the book, you won't read all of it for this next week, but you will read up to about page 112 or so. You're going to notice like a distinct shift, and I think in his rhetoric and his tone and his position in the text. So just keep reading, keep having fun, keep up with the good work. As always, if you have any questions, please get in touch with me as soon as possible. I'm always happy to help. Even if you have any questions at all about what we're reading or anything more in depth, let me know. And just send me an email, and I'm happy to respond as soon as I can. All right, thanks a lot. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, bye.